The morning started like any other normal day at Riverside High School. The hallways were filled with the usual sounds: lockers slamming, students laughing, and teachers reminding everyone not to run in the corridors. Outside, the bright morning sun shone over the football field, while the American flag moved gently in the wind. Inside classroom 204, Mr. Carter was explaining a history lesson. "Remember," he said while writing on the board, "human history is full of moments where courage changed everything." Most students were listening, but some were half asleep. Jake leaned back in his chair and whispered to his friend Emily, "Why do mornings feel like they last forever?" Emily laughed quietly. "Because you stayed up playing games again." Across the classroom, another student, Daniel, was looking out the window instead of listening to the lesson. At first, everything looked normal. Blue sky, white clouds, birds flying. Then suddenly, Daniel frowned. Guys?" No one listened. He stood up slowly, staring outside. "Mr. Carter, something's weird." The teacher sighed. "Daniel, sit down and—" He stopped mid-sentence, because the classroom suddenly became darker, not like clouds covering the sun. Something else. Something huge. Outside the window, a massive shadow slowly moved across the schoolyard. Students rushed to the windows. "What is that? Is that a plane?" "No, that's not a plane." Then the sky changed. Strange glowing lights began appearing above the clouds, blue, purple, and deep red. The air itself seemed to vibrate with a low humming sound. The birds disappeared. Phones started recording. And then they appeared. Gigantic alien ships slowly emerged from the clouds. Not one, not two, dozens. They floated silently above the city like dark metal mountains. Inside the classroom, no one moved. Emily whispered in fear. This can't be real." Another student dropped his phone. Outside, car alarms started going off across the city. Sirens screamed in the distance. Teachers ran into the hallway shouting orders. "Everyone stay calm. Move away from the windows." But it was already too late. Because one of the alien ships slowly moved directly above the school, the sunlight disappeared completely. The entire building was now under its shadow. Then the loud humming sound suddenly stopped. For a moment, everything became completely silent. Too silent. And then, a bright blue beam of light shot down from the alien ship, landing directly in the middle of the school football field. Inside the classroom, Jake whispered with shaking hands, "Guys, I think—" He swallowed. "I think they're coming down." And in that moment, every student in the room realized something terrifying. This was no movie, no drill, no joke. Earth was no longer alone, and the first place the aliens chose to visit was their school. The strange lights in the sky were no longer distant. Within minutes, the glowing objects grew larger, clearer, and far more terrifying. From the school playground, hundreds of students stared upward, their eyes wide with confusion. "What are those things?" one boy whispered. The morning sun slowly began to disappear behind enormous, dark shapes moving across the sky. Alien ships. Massive metallic structures hovered silently above the school building. Their surfaces shimmered with an eerie blue glow, reflecting the clouds like liquid metal. Inside the classrooms, teachers stopped speaking mid-sentence. Every student had turned toward the windows. Then it happened. A deep vibrating sound rolled across the sky. Boom! The entire building shook slightly, as if something enormous had just awakened above them. Some students screamed. Others grabbed their phones, trying to record what they were seeing. In the hallway, a teacher rushed toward the principal's office. "This isn't a drone or military aircraft," she said, her voice shaking. Outside, the shadows of the ships stretched across the playground like giant claws. The sky grew darker. One ship slowly lowered closer to the school. Its underside opened, revealing rows of strange glowing circles. Suddenly, a sharp alien sound echoed through the air. Gersh, duh. It was not language. It was something deeper, mechanical, almost alive. Students covered their ears. Teachers tried to calm everyone. "Stay inside. Close the windows," someone shouted. But it was already too late. The ground began to tremble. From the center of the largest ship, a thin beam of pale blue light slowly pointed toward the school courtyard. Dust lifted from the ground as the beam touched the earth. And then, something started moving inside the light. Shapes. Tall. Thin. Not human. A group of students near the window gasped in horror. Are those creatures? The alien shadow stretched across the ground, growing longer as the figures slowly stepped forward. Inside the classroom, a girl whispered in fear. They're coming here. The alien ships above the school hummed louder and louder, and for the first time, humanity realized this was not a visit. It was an invasion. But what the aliens didn't know yet was that something inside this school was about to change everything. The massive alien ship landed in the middle of the school playground. With a thunder-like sound, the ground trembled. Dust rose into the air. Inside the classroom, students froze in their seats. Through the windows, they could see the enormous black ship standing silently in the field. Then a strange metallic hiss echoed from outside. The side of the ship slowly began to open. Teachers tried to calm the students, but even they were shaking. No one had ever seen something like this before. Suddenly, the door of the alien ship slid open completely. A thick green mist rolled out of the entrance. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a long shadow appeared inside the mist. A tall figure slowly stepped forward. The first alien had arrived. It was taller than any human, almost 8 feet tall. Its skin was dark gray, almost metallic, with glowing blue veins running across its body. Its eyes were enormous and completely black. No pupils. No emotion. Just cold darkness. When the alien placed its first foot on the playground ground, the sound echoed like a heavy metal strike. Clang. Inside the school building, students started whispering in fear. Is that thing looking at us? A little boy near the window gasped. The alien slowly turned its head toward the school building. For a moment, everything became silent. Even the birds stopped flying. Then the alien lifted its hand and pointed directly at the school. A strange low-frequency sound vibrated through the air. Suddenly, every electronic device in the school shut down. Lights flickered. Computers died. Phones stopped working. Panic spread through the hallways. Teachers rushed to lock the classroom doors. Some students started crying. Others hid under their desks. Outside, the alien began walking toward the school entrance. Each step was slow, deliberate, terrifying. But just as the alien reached the front gate, it suddenly stopped, its head tilted slightly, as if it had sensed something inside the school, something unexpected, something that even the alien feared. Inside the building, in one quiet classroom, a single student slowly stood up and whispered, "They shouldn't have come here," because this school was not as ordinary as it seemed. The loud panic that had filled the school just minutes ago suddenly disappeared. Teachers rushed through the hallways, their voices shaking. "Everyone inside! Lock the doors! Stay quiet!" one teacher whispered urgently. Students quickly ran into classrooms. Desks were pushed against doors. Curtains were closed. Lights were turned off. Within seconds, the entire school fell into a deep, terrifying silence. In one classroom, 20 students sat on the floor holding their breath. Some were crying quietly. Others stared at the door with wide, frightened eyes. A teacher stood near the door, gripping a ruler like it was a weapon, even though she knew it wouldn't help much. Then it happened. Thud! A heavy sound echoed from the corridor. Every student froze. Thud! Thud! Slow, heavy, footsteps. Not human footsteps. Something was walking through the hallway. Outside the classroom, a long shadow slowly slid under the door. One boy covered his mouth to stop himself from screaming. The teacher raised her hand, signaling everyone to stay completely silent. The footsteps stopped, right outside the door. For a moment, it felt like time itself had stopped. No one moved. No one breathed. Then suddenly, "Scapi." Something sharp dragged across the metal lockers in the hallway. A strange alien growl echoed through the corridor. Inside the classroom, the students looked at each other in pure horror. Whatever was outside was searching for them. But far above the school, inside the alien ship watching everything, one alien commander spoke in a cold voice. "Scan the building." A glowing screen lit up, and the result shocked them. "Commander, something is wrong." According to the scan, there are hundreds of humans hiding inside. The commander slowly smiled. "Good. Let the hunt begin." But what the aliens didn't know yet, the school had never been this quiet before. The lights in the corridors flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the walls. From somewhere far away, The heavy metallic footsteps of the alien echoed through the empty hallways. Inside classroom 12, dozens of students were hiding under desks and behind cupboards. Some were crying softly. Others were praying. Their teacher whispered nervously, "Stay quiet. Don't make a sound." Outside the door, a strange clicking noise echoed. Like claws tapping against the floor, everyone held their breath. Then suddenly, thud, 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 the alien footsteps passed the classroom door. A wave of relief spread through the room, but the fear was still there. That's when one student slowly stood up. His name was Ethan Carter, a quiet student who usually sat at the back of the class. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were focused. The teacher whispered urgently, "Ethan, sit down." "It's not safe." But Ethan shook his head. "If we just hide, they'll find us one by one," he said quietly. "We need a plan." The students looked at him in shock. "A plan against aliens?" Ethan walked to the classroom window and carefully peeked outside into the hallway. The corridor was empty, but strange green lights glowed at the far end. He turned back to the class. "Our school has emergency tunnels under the gym," he whispered. "My brother told me about them. They lead to the parking area behind the forest." The teacher's eyes widened. "You're saying we can escape?" Ethan nodded. "But we must move quietly. If the aliens hear us, it's over." The room filled with nervous whispers. "But how do we get past them?" one girl asked. Ethan pointed at the fire alarm on the wall. "If we trigger the fire alarm, it will create noise everywhere. The aliens will go toward the sound, and we go the opposite way," another student whispered, realizing the idea. The teacher stared at Ethan. "You thought of this? While all this was happening?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I'm scared too," he admitted. "But someone has to try." For a moment the room was silent. Then one by one the students nodded. Fear was still in their eyes. But now something else had appeared. Hope. Ethan slowly walked toward the fire alarm. His hand hovered over the red switch. Outside the hallway, another alien shadow suddenly moved across the wall. Ethan swallowed hard. Then he whispered, "Everyone ready?" Dozens of terrified students nodded. Ethan closed his eyes for a second and pulled the alarm. Wow, wow. The entire school exploded with the sound of sirens. Red emergency lights began flashing everywhere. From the corridors outside, multiple alien screeches suddenly echoed. They had heard it, and they were moving. "Fast," the teacher whispered urgently. "Now, everyone follow Ethan." The classroom door slowly opened. The students stepped into the dark corridor. The school corridors were dark and silent. Heavy alien footsteps echoed through the hallway. Thump, thump, thump. Inside the science lab, a group of students and teachers hid behind tables. Everyone was scared, but they knew they couldn't just wait to be captured. "We have to fight back," whispered one teacher. A brave student looked around the lab. Shelves were full of chemicals, wires, magnets, and small science machines. An idea formed in his mind. "Aliens may have advanced technology, but they don't know our school," he said quietly. The students quickly started preparing traps. One group mixed harmless chemicals that created thick white smoke. Another group used magnets and metal tools to disturb the alien scanners. Someone turned on loud electrical machines to create strange signals and noises. Soon the entire hallway filled with smoke and confusing sounds. When the aliens walked in, their glowing eyes flickered. Their devices began malfunctioning. "Unknown signal. Error. Error," one alien voice echoed. From the shadows, students rolled lab carts and knocked over metal trays. Clang, clang, clang. The loud noise bounced across the empty school. The aliens became confused. Their sensors could not understand what was happening. For the first time since the invasion began, humans were fighting back. But suddenly, one alien slowly turned its head toward the lab door. Its glowing eyes locked onto the students, and a deep, terrifying voice growled. Humans could detect it. The door handle began to move. Part 7 will become even more intense. I prefer this response. ChatGPT. Response 2. Part 6, humans fight back. The school was silent, but not helpless. Inside the dark science lab, a small group of students and teachers gathered around a table, covered with lab equipment. Beakers, batteries, wires, magnets, and chemical bottles were scattered everywhere. Outside in the corridor, heavy alien footsteps echoed slowly. Thump, thump, Thump. Everyone froze. One brave teacher whispered, "Aliens may be stronger, but humans are smarter." A student quickly connected wires to a small battery and metal coil from the physics lab. Another student mixed harmless chemicals that produced thick white smoke. "Ready?" the teacher asked quietly. The alien footsteps came closer. Suddenly, boom! A loud flash exploded from the lab door as a bright spark shot across the hallway. At the same time, thick smoke filled the corridor. The alien outside screeched in confusion. Its glowing eyes flickered as the strange human devices disrupted its sensors. The smoke blocked its vision and the sudden electricity interfered with its strange technology. From the classroom, students began their plan. Some rolled metal carts down the hallway. Others smashed lockers to create loud echoes. The entire school turned into a maze of noise, sparks, and smoke. The aliens were no longer hunting. They were confused. One alien tried to scan the hallway again, but the magnetic field from the lab equipment scrambled its signals. Inside the lab, the brave student clenched his fists. "Humans don't give up," he whispered. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens were not in control anymore. And somewhere above the school, inside the alien ship, a commander slowly began to realize something terrifying. Humans were starting to fight back. Part 7, the alien commander arrives. Alien कमांडर स्कूल में एंटर होता है और ह्यूमंस की रेजिस्टेंस देखकर शॉक हो जाता है. Chief Y's story in English horror and suspense. The corridors of the school were eerily silent. Dust floated in the shafts of moonlight, and the faint hum of broken lights added to the tense atmosphere. Students and teachers huddled in classrooms, peeking through doors, hearts pounding. Suddenly, the ground vibrated. A deep, resonant thrum echoed through the walls. The main entrance doors creaked open, and a figure unlike any other stepped in. Towering, armored, and exuding an aura of authority, the alien commander had arrived. His eyes glowed with a piercing, unnatural light, scanning the school like it was a fragile artifact. For a moment, even the bravest humans froze. They had seen aliens before, but never one of such command. Yet something about the scene made the commander pause. Around him, traps set by students, simple yet ingenious, interfered with his sensors. Smoke mirrors, and even chemical reactions from the science lab confused his vision and instruments. The commander's shock grew as he witnessed the humans' resistance. They weren't hiding in fear. They were fighting with intellect, courage, and unity. Every hallway presented a new obstacle, every classroom a new strategy. He had expected submission, terror, compliance. Instead, he faced something unprecedented. Humans refusing to yield, even against an alien force far superior in strength and technology. A flicker of doubt crossed the commander's face. Could these fragile creatures actually challenge his species? Could their determination and courage outweigh his advanced weaponry? The alien commander realized for the first time that underestimating humans was a fatal mistake, and in that realization a storm of tension filled the air. The calm, before a confrontation that could determine the fate of both species. If you want, I can write Part 8 immediately, where humans actively confront the commander, using their clever traps and science experiments. It gets even more suspenseful and thrilling. The alien commander hovered silently in the ruined school corridor, scanning the chaos below. Broken desks, shattered glass, and faint cries of frightened students filled the air. Yet amidst all the fear and destruction, something unexpected caught the aliens off guard. Humans, despite their fragile bodies and limited strength compared to the towering alien soldiers, they were organizing. Whispered signals, improvised barricades, and coordinated attacks using nothing but classroom tools and science lab equipment. These seemingly weak beings were striking with precision and unity. One alien turned to the commander, its voice trembling with disbelief. "Commander, how can these creatures resist? They are insignificant." The commander's gaze sharpened. He watched a group of students lift a heavy lab table to block a corridor, while others used chemical flasks to create smoke and confusion. Every move was careful, every decision selfless. They were defending not just themselves, but each other. A sudden noise, a scream followed by the clang of metal, alerted the commander to another surprise. From the shadows, a small human girl had slipped past the alien lines, triggering a device that startled the invaders and disrupted their formation. The aliens stumbled. Panic, confusion, emotions they had never expected from inferior beings spread among them. It was then that the commander understood the truth humans had always known but aliens could not comprehend. Humans were weak in body, yes, but their courage was unbreakable. Their unity was a weapon sharper than any blade or plasma gun. Bravery, hope, and love for one another, they wielded these as naturally as they breathed. For the first time, the alien commander felt fear, not for himself, but for his mission. Humans, though small and fragile, were far stronger than he had ever imagined. And in that moment, a question formed in his mind. Was it strength of body that mattered, or strength of heart? The human's courage shone in the dim light of the destroyed school. The aliens realized that this simple, undeniable truth could never be defeated. Physical power could destroy walls, but human bravery could move worlds. The school corridors were eerily silent. Every footstep echoed like a thunderclap, and the aliens were systematically moving, confident that they had the humans cornered. Their strategy was precise, calculated and ruthless. But humans are unpredictable. In a moment that no alien could have anticipated, a group of students, led by the brave-hearted one who had stood up earlier, executed a sudden plan. Using simple tools from their science lab, mirrors, lenses, and chemical reactions, they created a dazzling, blinding light that ricocheted through the hallways. The aliens stumbled, their sensors overwhelmed by the sudden disruption. Their coordinated assault collapsed into confusion. One wrong move led to another, and soon their advanced strategy, which they thought unbreakable, completely fell apart. The students didn't stop. They moved with unity and courage, exploiting every opening the aliens' disarray created. Even the smallest action, a chair toppled at the right moment, a door slammed shut, became a crucial part of their victory. For the first time, the aliens realized something astonishing. These humans, seemingly fragile and ordinary, could outthink and outmaneuver them through sheer ingenuity and courage. It was not brute strength, but human cleverness and bravery that had shifted the tide of the battle. That one unexpected action, born from courage and quick thinking, had changed everything. The aliens' plan had failed, and the humans had shown that they were far more dangerous than anyone in the galaxy had ever imagined. After the intense confrontation, the aliens retreated from Earth, their ships vanishing into the void of space. Once back in their galaxy, the Alien Council convened to analyze the unexpected outcome. What they had initially considered an easy conquest had turned into a humbling defeat. For the first time, they realized that humans were far more than fragile creatures. Their bravery, quick thinking, and unity in the face of overwhelming odds had shocked the entire alien civilization. Messages echoed through the galaxy, underestimating Earth's inhabitants had been their greatest mistake. From that day on, humans were no longer seen as weak or insignificant. Tales of their courage spread across star systems, inspiring admiration and, in some cases, alliances. The aliens never returned, not because they feared Earth's weapons, but because they had come to respect the indomitable spirit of humanity. Earth's people, unaware of the full extent of the galactic recognition, continued their lives, but now they carried within them the silent pride of a species whose courage had changed the course of interstellar history.